Hey guys, Frosty Knives here, back with another book review. And today we're going to be talking about something a little different. Today we are going to be talking about Volume 1 of the Malazan Book of the Fallen by Steven Erikson. We are going to be talking about Gardens of the Moon. Now this is the first volume in a 10-book epic fantasy series by Steven Erikson. Normally, this is not something, I've never really talked about fantasy on my channel. We've talked a lot about Stephen King, we've talked a lot about horror and various other horror authors, but aside from one other book, which I believe was an Anne McCaffrey novel that I reviewed, we've never really talked about fantasy. But now, I think I want to talk about fantasy. So I picked this book up and the three other books, so the first four books in this series, I picked up at a thrift shop for $1 a piece because I liked some of the covers and I read some of the back of the book and I thought it was intriguing. So I picked it up and I just finished reading this book, and I am so glad that I picked these books up because this is a little bit more than intriguing. This is a very, very good novel. And I was very, very pleasantly surprised by how much I enjoyed this book and how much I'm looking forward to reading the rest of the series. So let's get the particulars out of the way. This book was published in 1999. And it clocks in at 657 pages without the appendix and the maps and things like that. So 657 pages. And I believe this is the shortest of the book. So there are 9 other books that are coming after this. And they're all just apparently going to get bigger and longer and better and more dense and more involved than this one. So I say if this was the appetizer for the main courses that are coming along, then Steven Erikson served up one hell of an appetizer. Because I want to keep going and reading the rest of the series. So normally, I would give you a little synopsis about what goes on in the books that I read. And I'm not going to do that with this book. For 3 reasons. One, I do not want to spoil anything at all. You can go online, you can see other videos if you're interested in the actual plot and what's going on in the characters. You can read about it, you can listen to podcasts, you can watch other videos. I just don't want to spoil anything because I really think that if you are into fantasy and you're into high epic fantasy, then you should really read this if you haven't. And so I don't want to spoil anything because I think people should take it as, go into this blind and take it as is. So that's the first reason. Second reason is this book is extremely dense. And there is a lot of characters. So if we were to talk about the synopsis and what actually happened in this story, we would be talking about this for a very long time. Because there is a lot of things that go on in the novel. More than I could cover in just a 10, 15, 20-minute video. That's how densely packed it is. And number 3, because it is so densely packed, I'm pretty sure I didn't catch everything that happens in this book. This is one of those books where you have to reread them. You read through the series, I think, and then you go back and you reread it again to catch all the things that you missed. There's a lot that happens, and I'm pretty sure I only caught the surface stuff, but some of the connections, I'm not sure that I made them, and I'm not sure I could even make them because they may be connections that we're going to make 2, 3, 4, 5 books down the road. Questions and plots that need to sort of be wrapped up, and that might not be wrapped up for a while. So instead of telling you what the book's about, I'm going to tell you what I liked, what I didn't like about the book. And what I liked about the book is a lot more than what I didn't like about the book. So let's talk about the first thing that I liked. And the first thing that I liked is sort of a combination of I liked it and I didn't like it, right? This book is dense. This book has a lot of things going on. There are a lot of characters that you get introduced to. There's a lot that is happening, and that is both a blessing and a curse. Sometimes there's so much going on, you kind of miss things, you kind of miss characters, or you kind of miss events. Things happen so fast that you got to go back and kind of reread them. You're thrown into this world with zero explanation at all. Steven Erikson puts you into his novel, and he expects you to know and understand everything that is going on. He does not tell you about the world. He shows you the world. There is very little exposition. And for some people, that can be very appealing and very alluring. And for other people, they can feel overwhelmed. And they can feel like there's so much going on and they don't understand it. And that can be a detractor. So the denseness of the novel is both its greatest blessing and its biggest curse. But the thing that I can say about that is, when I read it, like the first half of the book, I was lost. You know, I didn't understand the people, I didn't understand the world, but I kept going. But towards the middle and the end, when things started to gel, and I started making connections, and I started putting two and two together, started putting the pieces back together, and making those connections. And when you do that, because this book, then this author doesn't hold your hand at all, when you finally make those connections, that's very satisfying. Because you get to those, there's a lot of aha moments in the book where you go, aha, I understand that. Or, oh, that connects to what happened there. Or I know what that person is talking about. And you start making these connections. And that can be very satisfying. So if you're one of those people that just likes to be thrown into a world and not anything is explained to you, and you just have to explore it and understand it and peel back the layers on your own, if you like that, then this book is really for you. I compare this a lot to Skyrim, right? Because I've played a lot of Skyrim, and Skyrim does the same thing with its characters. You're essentially a nameless person on a wagon at the beginning of the game. Spoiler alerts here. For anyone who's never played Skyrim. You're essentially a nameless character on a wagon getting carted off to a village to be executed. You're not really sure who you are. You're not really sure why. And you get to the village, and then you're about to be executed, and a giant dragon comes down and torches everybody, and you're on the run, and you make it out of the village. And the guy that helps you out of the village goes, okay, I'll see you at the next town. You're on your own. And now all of a sudden, you're in this giant world on your own. And you can go to the next village, or you can explore. But the game just then leaves you with whatever you want to do and however you want to explore and however you want to make the connections. And that's how this book is. This book just, it doesn't hold your hand. It just shows you the world and expects you to understand it. The characters were really good. There's a lot of characters. Many, many, many characters. And the thing I like about the characters is that this book, there's no definition of what is good, what is bad. Who is good, who is bad. Who are the good guys, who are the bad guys. There's none of that. Everybody in this book is shades of gray. Everybody in the book believes that what they are doing is correct. Everybody believes that their course of action, their philosophy, their mindset is the right one, and that everybody else should agree with them, right? So there is no black and white. There is no good guy, bad guy. One could say the Malazan Empire is the overarching bad guy, but even they believe that what they're doing is right. So I like that. I like that there's no defining these characters, that they have shades, because that leaves a lot of room for character growth, right? If you believe one way and you believe you're correct and you believe that your way is the right way, as you go through this story, your belief can change. You can grow. You can believe something else. You can get involved with another group of characters who believe a different way, and then you can start to think, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the way I've been looking at the world is wrong. Maybe their way is right. So there's definitely a lot of character growth in this book. A lot of the characters in the book are, from where we saw them in the beginning to where they are at the end, is different. They've grown, they've shifted, they've changed. They've had experiences that have shaped their worldview, and they think differently. And we got 9 more books to go, so they may, where they end up at the end of the books, at the end of the 10 series, if they're even alive, may be completely different to where they are now. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how these characters grow, because the world and the characters, you can tell, are alive and they're growing and they're evolving. And I'm really looking forward to seeing that journey. Steven Erikson is really brutal with his characters, so it's a lot like what George Martin does with Game of Thrones. Don't get attached to a lot of characters because he's not adverse to killing them off. A lot of the characters that he introduced in the first part of the book never made it to the middle or end of the book. So there is a lot of death. There can be a lot of death, and we got 9 more books to go, so there may be a lot of death. So he's not adverse to introducing characters and then killing them. So if that's not your cup of tea, if you're not into that Game of Thrones mindset, this may not be your style. The dialogue was interesting. It felt, in some areas, it felt a little clunky. Some of the characters felt more like they were giving speeches as opposed to talking with each other. Maybe that will improve over the next 9 books. Not all of the characters felt this way, but some characters felt clunky. Some of the dialogue felt clunky. Some of it felt like they were pontificating. Some of it felt like they were giving speeches in front of a Senate or assembly. They were talking to each other. So I'm not going to hold that against the series or the books. It just seemed a little clunky and a little disjointed and weird in some places. I really want to talk about the magic system in this book. The magic system in this book is phenomenal. It's one of the things I liked, was how they portrayed magic in the book. But I really wish that he had explained it. And I guess that's the thing I didn't like. He doesn't explain how the magic works. We see the magic, and I've read other or seen other reviews and listened to other podcasts and listened to other people talk about the magic system in this book. And I guess from what they're telling me, or what I've heard, is that he never really does explain the magic system in the books, in the next 9 books. Magic is just a thing that exists in this world. It's a thing that people use. It's just there, and some people can use it, some people can't. And he never really explains the hows. I like the fact that he doesn't handhold you, but for some things, I would like just a smidge more of an explanation of how the magic works and why the magic works. Not just that the magic works. I never really liked the idea of things existing in a book, and the explanation of it is that's just the way it is. That's just how it is, and that's the world, and that's just the things that go on and whatever. But that's not to say that it's not good. Magic in this book, the magic system is really, really, really good. It's really interesting, and you start to form your own opinions of how things work and how the magic works and why it does. It's very powerful magic, and there's a lot that's going on with that. So again, that's both a thing I liked and a thing that I didn't like. The characters were phenomenal. The races were phenomenal. The world is great. Like I said at the beginning of the video, there's a lot more about this book that I like than I don't like. And I've read a lot of things where people have said, a lot of reviews where people have said that this is one of, if not the weakest books in the series. And I read that and I said, oh, holy hell, if this is one of the weakest books in the series, and I think it's pretty phenomenal, what is the rest of this series going to look like? What is the rest of it going to... What am I in for? So I think I am in for a ride that I'm really, really looking forward to. And I'm glad I picked these books up. Like I said, the world is great. The characters are great. The races are great. There's a lot of political maneuvering in the book. There's a lot of machinations and things that happen behind the scenes. There's a lot of wheels within wheels within wheels. So if political machinations and double crossing and triple crossing and working all sides of the fence, if that's not your cup of tea, this might not be the book for you. But if you're really into that, if you like to see how the strings are pulled and, you know, how people work from the shadows and have the power behind the power and the, you know, everything, all of that kind of idea, if you really like that, then I think you'll really like this book, because there's a lot of that going on, especially in the one major city that this book mainly takes place in. There's a lot going on. And because this is an empire, I think we're going to see a lot more of that down the road. So, again, if that's not your cup of tea, you might not enjoy those sections. But if it is your cup of tea, you're really going to like this, I think. So, guys, that's my review of Gardens of the Moon by Steven Erikson. And then we've got 4 more. Well, I got 3 more. And I'm gonna buy the rest. We got Dead House Gates, which is gonna be next. Book 2. We got Book 3, Memories of Ice. I mean, you can see these things just keep getting bigger and bigger. Memories of Ice, Book 3, and then Book 4, House of Chains. So, and then I'm gonna be buying the rest as I go along. So. I'm really glad I picked these up. Got them all for $1. $4 for all of these books. And I think I'm going to have a hell of a ride with them. So guys, that is my review of Steven Erikson's Gardens of the Moon. I gave it a 4 out of 5 on Goodreads just because I think it is really hard to get into. You got to work to get into the book. But once you do get into it, and once it starts to click and gel in your head, I think the rewards are immensely satisfying. But for some people, breaking into this book and getting into this style of writing, this many characters, this much going on, this kind of a dense world, it might be a detractor for some people. Like I said at the beginning, the denseness of the book is both a blessing and a curse. So that's why I gave it a 4 out of 5. Because I think it can keep some people out. I think it's so dense, kind of like a fruitcake. Nobody likes fruitcake. Anybody like fruitcake? I don't know anybody who likes fruitcake. But fruitcake can be really dense to get into. But I guess for the people who do like the fruitcake, when they get into it, they really enjoy it. So I don't know how I compare these books to a fruitcake, but here we are. So guys, that's my review of Steven Erikson's Gardens of the Moon. 4 out of 5. I have got 9 more books to read, thousands and thousands of more pages to read, hundreds and thousands of millions of more words to read, and I am going to do a review of each of the books as we go along. So kind of like I did with The Dark Tower, we're going to review each of the books, and I probably won't be giving you plots and spoilers per book, because I think it's just going to get bigger, grander, on a more epic scale, more people, more battles, more things going on, more gods, more dragons, all kinds of stuff. Cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria. So guys, that's my review. I hope you enjoyed it. Pick it up if you're really into high fantasy, if you've never read it. You know, if you're into things, I guess, like, I don't know a lot of high fantasy, but I guess if you're into things like Wheel of Time or those types of books, you might like this book. So guys, that's my review. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, and as always, like, subscribe, share it around, tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your postman, tell that guy down the road, and the mailman and his little dog too. And as always, I will see you in the next video.